Hello, all of you I Can Do Anything podcast listeners. This is your host, Robin Steckel. Today, we are going to talk to Frankie Averill about her hiking journey, how she got into hiking, hiking across Colorado, and anything else that comes up today. Welcome to the podcast, Frankie.
Thank you, Robin. I'm glad to be here.
Nice to have you.
Thank you.
So tell us, how did you get started with outdoor activities? And then how did that get you into hiking?
I started hiking in 2015. I was staying in Colorado at a campground, and these people kept hiking past me with these big old bags on, and I was like, where are they going? And why are they carrying so much stuff? And I had done some day hikes and things, but I didn't know anything about backpacking. And after returning back to Wisconsin, then did some research and found out that where we were staying was the Colorado Trail. It went right through our campsite. So then just did some research. I watched the movie Wild, Cheryl Strayed movie, and just kind of really got a hunger for hiking and backpacking more. And so that kind of led into 2 years of training, a lot of long distance hiking, the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin. I think I've done almost 800 miles of that in my backpacking training, and then moved on to the Colorado Trail in 2017.
Did you do any outdoor activities such as hiking or long walks when you were younger, college, after college?
No, not really. Not really. I
So,
did some little hikes, a couple miles here and there. I'd walk, pavement walking, but really never anything really deep in nature.
so the first time that you really got an itch to try hiking, backpacking is when you saw the backpackers go through your campsite.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
I don't
just
know why.
and just seeing all of that gear, you're
Yeah.
thinking, what on earth are you guys doing?
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, you're crazy. That looks really heavy and really hard. And I had only been out to Colorado once or twice, maybe to the Denver area prior to that. And where we were in Twin Lakes, Colorado, right smack dab in the mountains. And I was like, climbing all the way up there? That seems hard. Really, really hard.
So what did you do? Did you start researching when you got home? Did you read books? Did you go on YouTube? How did everything come together for you to even research what they were doing?
All of the above. Honestly, we looked on the map. This was my ex-husband and I looked on the map and found the trail, and then just started YouTubing the Colorado Trail and who had done it, looked on Facebook, and then made a trip to REI. And then that's like my candy store, honestly.
I bet that cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, several thousands and thousands of dollars later, because we were opting for ultralight gear, because the movie Wild with Cheryl Strayed, she takes this huge pack and it weighs like 75 pounds or something. And I've had friends that have taken packs that large. And I was like, there's no way that I could do that. And so we just started buying, the essentials, the tent, the sleeping bag, the pack, hiking clothes, puffies, and then my base weight with everything, with 6 days worth of food and water, was like 37 pounds. And
And you really literally did this without ever really hiking.
Yeah, 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 I know. And I was like, my friends were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I like it. I mean, it spoke to me being out in nature for so long. And my mom, bless her heart, did not like me being out there alone. So I did get a Garmin InReach where when she was alive, she could track me to know exactly where I was, because that was, her biggest fear was that her little girl was going to get hurt out there somewhere.
So we will hit on that. I am still wildly obsessed about you just see backpackers walk through camp
Mhm.
and then you go to REI, which is pricey. They have
Very.
very, very good equipment. I've
Yes.
been to REI, but it is for somebody who hadn't been hiking before, that
Mhm.
is probably not the store that most people would start with. But
Right.
going to REI, how did you know what to get and what supplies did you to get? Did you have somebody help you at REI? Did you have a list or a combination of everything?
Combination of the two. There is some great resources online. There's Gear Lab, which they kind of rate all of the year's equipment and kind of give you the best, and they give you the weight. And I'm a spreadsheet person, so I loaded everything in on a spreadsheet and kind of calculated the weight, calculated the cost, which was a column that I really didn't want to see on there, but I did because you know you got to be responsible too. And but yeah, that's just in trial and error, you know, trying to find. It took me 4 hours to get fit for a pack because I have a short torso. So we had to go actually to a different store in Minnesota to where they could mold a hip belt for me. And then that was on my Osprey, but then that one was 5 pounds just for the pack itself. And I was like, once I started my second round of finishing the trail, I was like, I had to ditch that one. I still have it because that's Big Red. You know, I can never get rid of Big Red. And I still have it, but I couldn't use it anymore. It was way too heavy.
All right. You've you've been to REI, you've
Mm-hmm.
got your big red all packed up. What's the first trail that you went out on? And did you go by yourself or did you have others with you?
Combination of the two. I did have a couple friends go. Ex went, but by myself. You know,
Okay.
we did the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin mainly.
Okay.
That was
So
our kind of go-to.
that's where you started out at. And
Yep.
how long would you go just starting? How many
Um,
miles?
10, 12 miles and up to 21 miles a day.
Okay.
We did fully loaded.
Did you train for that before you hit the trail, or did you just, honest to Pete, get out of your vehicle, get Big Red on, all geared up, hooked in, ready to go, and you just literally went out and walked a trail?
Honest to Pete. Honest to
Okay.
Pete. Yep. I mean, I used to do workouts and stuff, but nothing crazy or anything. I would just literally go out and, yep, I'd put Big Red on and we would go find some dirt to
It
play
just
in. And
sounds, it just sounds outlandish.
it was. I mean, I had blisters galore just trying to learn what type of shoes. And because once I figured out the weight of the pack, then I didn't have as many blisters because it kind of all goes together.
All right.
It's
So
crazy.
we're hiking the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
When did you go out to Colorado? And did you do a few trails or when did you hike across Colorado?
I did a warm up hike before I started. I did one in Fort Collins, just a day hike, a couple day hikes. And then I got dropped off at the trail. And it was in July of 2017. And so the initial, I was going to go the whole way, all the way to Durango, because it goes from Denver to Durango. It's 486.4 miles. But I wasn't a solo backpacker. I learned because I was supposed to go with someone, but then they couldn't go at the last minute because of health reasons. So, but I was like, but I still want to go. This is my dream also. And so I fought with myself really, really hard. But I still went. And it was terrifying, honestly, for the first time being out there in a very strange area in the mountains where there's bears and, you know, but I made it 10 days and 156 miles.
And
And
what
I
did
had
you have for protection to protect yourself as a solo hiker?
Nothing. Not just my poles.
Was
Honestly,
it
because you don't
because you
carry a gun
no,
or
or bear
anything.
spray,
Mm-mm. No.
mace?
Mm-mm. No, I did for a little bit, like I think a day or two I had mace, but then I was really trying to cut because every ounce counts when you're backpacking. And so it's like, well, I don't need that, or I don't need that, or, and people are like, are you going to bring a gun? I'm like, because I used to go hunting with my brother, so I know how to use them. But I was like, no, because again, it's weight. And if I go and I shoot at, something and I miss, that might not fare well for me. So I just was really smart about my food. And, I made sure that I had the right gear, for the odor free food. And then just kind of hung it over on a tree stump because I was too short and I couldn't figure out how to get it up in the tree. I tried, but I was like, I can't do it. So
As
I
a
was just
shorty.
smart in other ways.
Many of our listeners know that I am a huge proponent for safety. At one point, Ashley, who used to be on the podcast with me, she would make comments and it would just drive me crazy. Like, what do you mean you went out hiking by yourself? What? How could you do that? So I'm always intrigued when people hike by themselves. I will never hike by myself just for safety reasons alone.
Right.
But were you ever scared out on a hiking trail? Did you come across people that gave you the creeps, or was it just really a very nice hike?
It was a nice hike, but I did have a moment where I had an individual that it seemed like he would appear like when I least expected it. And it was like he was watching me or something. And I had started with the Facebook groups, there's the Colorado Trail. And so this Michael, his name was, and his wife wasn't going either. And so him and I were starting at the same day, same trailhead. And we're just like, hey, well, we'll just kind of, hike together. But he was like, I don't know, 6'5" or something. And he had legs longer than half my body. So he could just go fast. And so we would catch up at the end of the night. And so this was, I think, day 3, and I was going, and I had told him we had met up for lunch. And I'm like, can you please stay with me for at least a little while? Because this guy, which he had met, kind of been leapfrogging with the same guy. And so he kind of got a little bit of what's going on here? And so he stayed with me the rest of the day. And then that guy went his own way. But yeah, and I was really kind of paranoid. And I mean, I carry a knife, which, that really, I don't know what it would do. I never had to use it, but he definitely gave me the eerie feeling. But that was pretty much the only time that I had it on the trail, and I really didn't get worried with animals. I didn't ever see any bears or anything. On my actual Colorado trail, I didn't. When I was in Fort Collins training, I did see mountain lion.
And do they mostly just run away?
Well, these guys, I was going through, it was a 7-mile trail. It was up to my thighs in weeds. And you always want to make noise. So I was clinking my poles together, because I was aware that they were there. I got to a service road and I let my guard down because I was like, oh, okay, good, I made it. Well, I turned and there was wrestling in the weeds next to the road. And I saw the face of one and the butt of another. And I just about had a panic attack. And I was
What did you
walking and
do?
I just kept walking and putting my poles together, and then they took off. But I was like, oh my, I don't ever want to be that close to another one again. And years
Yeah,
later, that's where there was actually an attack a couple of years ago on that same trail. And I was like, oh, well, okay, we're not going back there again. And I know they're everywhere, honestly. I used to have them outside my door when I lived in Colorado.
how long did it take you to do the Denver to Durango?
I did it in a 4-year span. So the first in 2017 was 10 days. And then I kept trying to get back and trying to get back to the trail, and it just wasn't the right time. And then in 2021, I finally got back out there. My daughter decided to get married in the middle of my hike. So I had to split it up into 4 different events to go out there. And then it was, I want to say 23-ish days for the remainder. And so August 22nd of 2021, I walked into Durango.
Very cool.
A very happy person, but my feet were tore up.
I bet. What were some of the things that went through your mind, such as, did you ever get lonely, or did you ever sing to yourself? How did you while away the hours?
Yes, I got lonely. I would have arguments with myself, like, why are you doing this? What are you out here to do? What are you proving? Those, and then, I'd talk myself down, and then 3 minutes later, like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're out here carrying 26 pounds on your back, climbing up these mountains. And I'm like, because this is what brings me joy. This is where my soul is just speaks, and so, yeah. And I would sing to myself, I would talk to myself, and I would meet up with other hikers. The trail family is absolutely amazing.
I've heard that.
Sometimes they're better than real family. I mean, they really are. They watch out for you. If you need help, they're right there for you. I had a moment where there was a storm coming in, and I had just enough time, because in the mountains you have to watch for lightning. It's a real thing. People have died because they're, above tree line and get hit. And so you have to watch for that. And so I had just enough time to set up my tent and climb in really quick. And then I had a moment where, for all the listeners, if they have InReaches, I would advise to never, ever, ever sleep with it in your sleeping bag. I have no idea why I slept with it that night, but I set off my SOS.
Oh.
Yeah. And I didn't know it until the next morning when I had 110 messages on my phone. And my daughter was trying to get a hold of me, and because I was sleeping on an angle, so my tent was propped up against a log, and I kept sliding down. And so I guess in some time in the night, but that picture that I took got me a place in a calendar. Wasn't all bad.
You'll have to send it to me then.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous picture. It's got the sunset and the mountains, and yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's in a calendar. And so I'm like, well, there was good that came of that night.
So tell us a little bit more about the trail family.
Oh,
what are some of your best memories?
I am still friends with a bunch of them. I mean, we still go backpacking together. We still hike together. I have one friend. She's so sweet, Denise. Her mom passed away 3 weeks before my mom did. And so we actually did a little backpacking adventure, and we put both of our mom's ashes together on a mountain pass. And they're just, like I said, they're closer than real family sometimes. They're so loving and caring. And if you need anything, or you need a ride from a trailhead to a town, I was really anxious about hitchhiking, because it's just being out there by myself. But then this guy came up. He's like, "Are you looking to go to town?" I'm like, "I am." He's like, "Just come with me." I'm like, "Okay," but I didn't have the willies or anything from him. So he saw that I was feeling very anxious and kind of just came over, and he's like, "I'll take you." Oh, okay, thank you.
And probably turned out to be a great guy.
He was, totally, yes. Yeah, and I met another one in town, and like I said, I'm still friends with most everybody that I met in 2017.
Have you been back to Colorado hiking for a literal 1 or 2 day hike? Okay.
I haven't for the last couple of years, but I did do a 3-day backpacking trip with some of my trail sisters that we also did the Colorado Trail together. So yeah, we did a fall trip, and we're planning one this summer to do a 96 mile in July.
In Colorado?
Yes, or the first week of August.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Which
But
then brings us to how you and I met, which none of my listeners will be surprised. Another 29029er.
right.
And anybody that's watching on YouTube can see that I have the Grand Tetons behind me.
Yeah.
And this is the summit at Jackson Hole, which everybody knows I volunteered at last summer. How do you feel that you're hiking the past few years and you have been continuing to work out?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that that experience led you to signing up for 29029? And how did you even hear about it?
I was in Colorado working, and 29029 Everesting came up on my Facebook feed, and I had never heard of it before. I've never spoken of doing Everesting or Mount Everest or anything where my phone could hear it. And I was just looking at it, and then I put it away, and then I opened it again. I'm like, what is that? And then I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about it. I'm like, what is the draw of this? And then I started YouTubing it, and then I was hooked. Hook, line, sinker, and this was in September. And then I was doing more videos and just became extremely obsessed with 29029 Everesting. And I was like, huh. And I told my husband, and he's like, you're going to do what? I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do it yet because I don't know if I can get in. I said, but there's a reason why I have to do this. I don't know my why yet, but I can do hard things, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get myself a hat.
And that's that.
And that's that. And yeah, so I think all the training and it's still going to be hard. It's still going to be very hard, but
as Mark and Colin say, there is no easy way to 29,000 feet.
No. In my, Colorado Trail, I think it's over 89,000 feet of elevation throughout the whole trail. So I'm like, well, I did that even on the hard days, crying up the trail because my back was heavy, and I was like, why am I doing this? And then, but it's the view from the top, that makes it so worth it. And it's what you can learn about yourself in the process.
That's exactly why I'm going back to Whistler this year. And listeners know on previous episodes that the mountain really spoke to me at night. I was by myself. I had already been injured. I was hobbling up the mountain. And that really is the most life-changing, altering experience is when you are out there by yourself and it is dark, and we had great weather at Stratton 22. Could see the stars. Yes, it was windy. It was cooler than most people liked, but being from Wisconsin, it was not even a big deal.
Right.
And it just really culminated into everything that I had been doing. This podcast name came from a 29029 event from Snow Basin from my friend Jeremy. Yeah. And talking to people about how to break down barriers and asking you, did you really just get out of your car with your pack that you just went to REI without ever, honestly, ever going down a hiking path? And your answer is yes, I did.
Yes.
It's those things that spark so much interest and intrigue. And you're just so excited to go do something, and then you do it, and it becomes a passion, and it's great. And they call it the type 2 activity.
Yes.
29029. Yeah. 29029 in 36 hours is definitely a type 2. And there's a reason why they call it one of the world's most difficult ultra endurance events.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. You are going to be super excited, and then you are going to be down at your very bottom. And why did I do this? And why did I think this was going to be fun? And how did I ever think this was going to be fun? And I didn't do enough training, and I didn't do enough of this, and I didn't do enough of that. And you really need to squelch that in just one foot in front of the other
right.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
You're done on Saturday at 6 p.m. Dinner, awards. everybody is recognized. Every single person at 29 is recognized for their efforts.
Right.
And then on Sunday, you're wondering, when is sign up for the next year? When am I going to sign up for this? Is you can barely walk, you're hobbling.
Right.
And you're thinking, I can't wait for the next time I get to sign up for this.
Yes, I know. I was already, when I got done with the Colorado Trail, I was thinking, when should I do it again? I'm like, really? I just got done, and it wasn't easy because I was sick. I had to get off the trail. All those things happened, which is then now with the 29, it's kind of, I'm remembering that stuff of, oh, that's right. You have to fuel yourself. Remember, you had to eat every 2 hours. Remember this. And so I'm like taking these little tidbits and making little notes to myself, and so I can definitely succeed, because I've never done an endurance event before. I think I did one 5K in my life.
Yeah, that's not endurance, but yes.
No. That was fun because it was a tough mudder. So It's very muddy.
Talk to us too about, I don't know if I want to say living in 3 different states, but definitely working in 3 different states, and how you keep up, just even if you weren't training for 29, how do you keep up some type of a semblance of a routine and staying active? Because I think a lot of our listeners would love to know how you do that.
Yes, it is definitely not easy. It takes a lot of planning because, yes, I live, my home address is in Indiana. I work remote for a company I used to work for in Colorado when I lived there. And then I have my kids live and grandkids live in Wisconsin, plus my friends. So I travel between those 3 places several times. I'm usually home for a week or 2, and then I'm off somewhere else. But I make my plan out ahead of time, and I literally travel with a whole extra suitcase of supplements and powders and my resistance cables and bands and yoga mats and extra shoes and a weighted vest. And, so it's possible, but it takes a lot of planning. So yeah, flying Southwest is really good because, you get 2 free bags there. And I use both of those to the fullest, like 49.5 pounds on them. But it takes a lot of planning. And, I've started keeping a set of everything in Colorado, only because then I don't have to travel as much. And my daughter in Wisconsin has a treadmill. I got a gym membership to Anytime Fitness. So that way, wherever I am, I can go, utilize that. And it just, like I said, it boils down to planning. And I try to travel on my rest day, if at all possible, or move my schedule around a little bit and keep up with it. And so many people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, it means enough to me. We focus on the things that are important to us. And outside of spending time with my family, that's important to me. And so I will make sure I get my workouts in and my training in, so that way I can succeed.
It really comes down to, it's a priority.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Very much so. And I get the support and encouragement from, my husband and friends, and they're like, can you message me daily and can I be accountable to you? Because I just can't seem to do everything. I'm like, I'm not perfect by any means. I struggle just like the next person. I said, but I have a calendar, and those are the things that are on top.
Tell us about nutrition. What do you do for nutrition?
I struggle with that too sometimes, because this last weekend I was at a retreat and I ate whatever I wanted, including dessert, and then pay for it Monday. But I try to work on macros, which macros are different for me, because before I was always used to calorie focused, not macros. And sometimes I feel like I'm eating too much, but I still haven't met my macro goal. So it's only been 2.5 months. And so I'm learning that, but I eat, eggs and high fiber tortillas and cottage cheese and yogurt. And I try to find the things that definitely have high protein in them. And I'm learning what to eat before the heavy workouts now that the workouts are ramping up. So I'm like, okay, what? So I eat toast with peanut butter and a banana, or honey, or oatmeal. So that's what I'm on now.
And have you been practicing longer durations yet? So let's say 4, 6, 8 hours, and how you're going to fuel and hydrate during those longer sessions?
I've only done hiking for 4, 6, 8 hours. And when I was in Colorado, I did a 13-mile hike. My biggest thing is remembering to eat, because I tend to forget because I'm not hungry or I'm not thirsty. So I forget to drink water. And so I pretty much have this internal alarm now, like, okay, 2 hours. Oh, 2 hours. I have to make sure I have a little something to eat. So that way I have, because otherwise I can just get so lethargic and so like, I don't think I can make it up this climb. And it's like, well, I can't. Oh, because you didn't eat. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. And, now that we're down to, or that I'm down to 4 months before the event. So I'm really trying to hone in, and I'm not used to doing sodium based, like pre-workout supplements and stuff. I'm just, used to doing whatever I found on the, shelf. But so now I'm really trying to focus in on what my body needs.
If someone was to ask you, hey, Frankie, I heard you on Robin's podcast. I really want to get into backpacking. I too was inspired by whatever it was. What recommendations would you give to people who either wanted to just start hiking or truly backpacking?
The World Wide Web is your friend with that. Or, you can put my Facebook or Instagram or whatever on there, and they can reach out to me if they want to. But just doing the research, really, and just getting out and doing it. Just if you have a dream or you have a goal, just do it. Next year, I'm hoping to do the Camino de Santiago in Spain. That is, 45 days of backpacking. And so that's my goal.
Wow. Let's talk about that. Give us an overview.
Well, I've kind of put a little bit of the research on hold, only because I've been focusing on the 29029. But that one, you stay in albergues or hostels. So it's not like roughing it. You don't have to set up a tent every night. So it's kind of easier, and you're doing walking paths per se. But it's just been something over the last few years that's been there. Like, I really want to go see the Iron Cross. And that's where a lot of people go, and they take little trinkets or little memories or pictures or something, and they just kind of go place it on there. And it's a pilgrimage. And again, there's movies The Way is another one. There's another one called I'll Push You. It's about two friends that one of them is in a wheelchair, and his friend actually pushes him. It's 500 miles. Yeah, so that I'm hoping to do next spring.
And it's 45 days, you said?
Yes. Yep.
Is anybody
days.
going with you?
I don't know. There might be one of my new friends from 29029 said that she's always looking for people to go, on these backpacking. She's like, have you ever done the Camino? I was like, funny thing you mentioned that. And so I don't know if it'll work out or not, but hopefully it does. Otherwise, I have no problem now going places by myself. In 2022, I did to Machu Picchu.
Oh, tell us about that.
I went, and it was actually planned for the year of COVID and got canceled.
Okay.
And then I went in 2022, I rebooked it, and my friends and I were supposed to go, and one of them, Sarah, had knee surgery, so she couldn't go. So my friend Jen ended up going with, and she ended up getting sick night one, like super sick. So I ended up doing it. I mean, you're with a tour company, because that's the only way you can get a permit is with a tour company. And it was weird because their porters carried my stuff.
Oh,
I'm used to carrying my stuff. And so everybody would look at me when they would walk past me, and I'd be like, oh, and I just had trouble with somebody else carrying my stuff. Not that I was worried that anything would happen to it, but that's my weight to carry. But I met some amazing people. And again, we're still friends. And there's 2 of them from Wisconsin that I had to fly all the way over to Peru to see or to meet. And yeah, and then there's a stairway. I can't even remember the name of it now, but it's above Machu Picchu, Stairway of Death or something like that. And it is literally like crazy steep stairs with like cliff. I'll have to send you pictures of those too. But I did that one with just one of the other guys that did the whole trip. And because it was like, yeah, that sounds fun. I'm like, who are you? And, I was not like this growing up. I was nothing like this. And now I'm just like, where should we go now? I'm like, maybe I'll go to base camp. Or maybe there's a couple other things that are on the bucket list of, Switzerland or just to, yeah.
Have you done rim to rim?
No, I haven't. I tried last year to get a permit, but I didn't get it. And so I want to do rim to rim to rim. But I don't know. It's so hard getting permits. I did Havasu Falls last year. I got a permit to that, and I was out there 3 days. Absolutely beautiful. I went when it was flooding, so I got kind of worried. It was almost canceled, but it was still pretty, even though I felt like I was on the scene of Willy Wonka.
Tell our listeners about getting a permit, because that's something that's new to me. I'm looking at doing some other hikes in the near future out west. And then I hear that you have to either be with a tour guide, but get a permit. And I thought, I don't even know what a permit is. And
yes.
Colin O'Brady has talked about getting permits before to do some of his hikes. And so I keep hearing about permits, and I'm thinking, well, I'm certainly not hiking in the right places because I do not need a permit for where I'm going. So tell us about permits.
Right. For Havasu Falls, it's because it's tribal. So you have to, and that one is pretty pricey to go on. And they've changed the reservation system for that one. And I ended up getting one off the cancellation list. So they have a cancellation list that you can go on and buy a permit there. I don't know what for this year, but I've heard that there's growing pains in it. But as far as other permits, you can just Google it, and then you have to go to the National Park Service, and each one of them has their own requirements on how you can send it to them. Some you have to go in person, some you can fax, some you can email, and then some you can give like 3 different dates for, and then you have to wait till like the next month, and then to see if your name is drawn for it.
And this is a permit to climb something or to go to something.
Yes, like rim to rim to rim or rim to rim. They have their permit. I believe you can go to the office and still possibly get a day of pass if there's any left. But other ones like Angel's Landing or the Wave in Arizona, those you have to go on and try to get a permit for. The Narrows is the same thing. That one, I think it does quarterly. For that one, going to another country like Machu Picchu, that one I just Googled, and I found this Alpaca Expeditions is who I went through. They were great. I felt safe all the time with them. And you submit a request, and then you can get picked for a day for there's 500 permits a day that they have for those. There's another one that's in Colorado called the 4-Pass Loop, Maroon Bells. I did that not last year, the year before. That was a 4-day backpacking trip, depending on if you come from Aspen or Crested Butte, on what permit that you need for that one. And most of these permits are free, but you just have to register. So that way, because they're really trying to cut down on the number of people that are out there, because the trails get super busy.
I bet they do.
And people are not always the greatest at cleaning up after themselves.
Is there anything that you think that the listeners should know about that we haven't talked about yet?
I don't think so, but just dare to dream. Honestly, live out loud. Tomorrow's not promised. If there's something you want to do, go do it.
I love that.
Find your people, like-minded people. They inspire you.
Thank you very much for your time today. We have a whole new vision of hiking and backpacking thanks to you.
Well, thank you, Robin.
To all of my listeners, stay awesome and keep reaching for your anything.